days.
16.
Sit down and shake. Oh, yes. Oh. Sit
Welcome, everyone. We are already in open session, so we're going to begin our meeting. At this point, yes,
I would like to amend the agenda.
yes. Okay, at this point, we need a motion to amend the agenda with 16A board observations, please.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, I need a motion now to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Board communications.
We do not have any communication this
Thank you. John, do we have any public?
No requests for comment were submitted.
Okay, next up is our financial update.
Good evening. Just wanted to give a financial update on the 2022 bond project. At the end of December, we have spent $7,204,059.46 on completed and paid invoices. This leaves us with a current balance of $29,508.99. The Finance Department has also started working on the development of the 24-25 budget by estimating revenues and identifying current and new expenditures. We are working with building administrators to identify any necessary end of the school year expenditures. This planning will allow us to have a good understanding of any necessary transfers and budget adjustments that might need to be made by June 30th. At the end of January, we had 2 CDs come to maturity. 3-year CD we reinvested into a 12-month CD at an interest rate of 5.1%. This CD allowed the district to earn an additional $21,521 in interest over the last year. Rolling this CD into a new 12-month CD could potentially increase revenue by $61,222 in interest. The 12-month CD we brought back into our money marketing account for the district use. This CD allowed the district to earn an additional $50,153 in interest over the last year. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, next we have academic focus, Macquarie Elementary.
We were gonna defer to upper first, they needed to.
Okay, yeah, I don't-
All right. Is that all right?
yeah,
All right.
great.
All right, so I'd like to do introductions as we get set up here. So welcome Coach Leary. She's our head of this Health Moves Minds initiative. And then we have 3 awesome kids who are also very good fundraisers, by the way. So we've got Hunter, Jax, and Kaylee here. So I'll let them kind of talk mostly. But for us, Mrs. Smith and I, Health Moves Minds is a big deal. It's something that we do every year. Kind of the title says a little bit of it all. But for us, it really affects the kids with character, positivity, and kindness, but then the staff also partake. Like right now we're doing a special week with something every day. Today was a positive t-shirt thing. So we're participating in that, and a lot of the proceeds come back directly to our staff. So it's a great thing. So I'm going to turn over to these guys to share the great things that they're doing with our Health Moves Minds.
All right. The Health Moves Minds program brings lessons, activities, and community building ideas that help our kids live their best lives.
Health Moves Minds will teach you important life skills like kindness, respect, teamwork, Mindfulness helping others plus managing our emotions.
You will learn to strengthen your mind and body through fun, engaging lessons through activities. Some activities that are my favorite are the mindful parachute and the activity called From Here to There.
You will learn that helping others feels good. Be kind plus raising funds for new PE equipment so we can learn more skills, be more active, and have fun. While also sharing funds with a charity. This year we chose our OUE PTO. We earn exciting rewards while also we raise funds online or offline. Also, we gain recognition for being a giving hero. The biggest thing is to have fun and let kindness guide you.
So we've been doing this program now for 6 years, and out of those 6 years, we have picked 3 charities within this community. The first one was going to the dogs, that we helped the Odessa Police Department get their canine dog. Partners for Odessa Parks and Rec was the second one, and then this year, OUEPTO. I'm looking at Adam because his son was a big part of this program the last 3 years with us, and this has just been a huge thing for our community. If you look over here at this photo, this is some of the stuff that the teachers got within their classrooms. All that went to the classroom. Alternative seating, from the wobble stools to the blue dots to the desks that sit on the floor, standing desk. 2 big beanbag chairs that you see was in our library, so all kids benefit throughout. I will brag a little bit. We have been in the top 10 since this program has started. We've been number 2 in the state of Missouri, all 6. Well, I should say 5, because 6 hasn't completed. But this last year, we were number 1 in the state of Missouri and also number 1 in the nation. So I will be traveling to Cleveland in March to receive an award on these guys' behalf. So it does bring back a lot of good things to our school, and not just for the classroom, but also within the PE department. Some things that I wouldn't be able to get with just my budget. So, what are some of your favorite things that we have maybe in PE?
We got 9 square in the air. And we got volley down. It's like you have 2 big balls and then you hit a big volleyball and then there's 2 giant nets.
And I could not get that with just my budget. 9 square in the air, that game right there is just $900 itself. So, great program. It does bring a lot back to our community and our district. And I do need to point out that I'm very fortunate that I have a school board and administrators that support this program. And with our success, these 2 were actually administrators of the year through this program with MoShape as well. So, is there any other questions for us?
How do you guys fundraise for the program?
So the kids can go online, they can set up their own online platform, or offline, which is just a regular collection envelope, like back when I used to do Hoops for Heart with you guys. So, yep. And then we go the whole month, so everything we do by February 29th. And last I looked, right now we are sitting at 8th place in the nation. But that just shows the online donations, it does not show what the collection votes are.
Barry, did you start this 6 years ago?
So I was asked to pilot this program. I serve on our state and national board, so I was one of the that was asked to do this program. So I did, and it was very successful. It's a social emotional learning program, basically trying to just give these guys a bunch of different character traits to follow, and just be kind, respectful humans. This is what we push for.
Good goal.
Yep.
I know you put a lot of time into it outside of your working hours, and the dedication is very much appreciated because it might not be related to the book work, but it's related to the humans that we want to create. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt, we appreciate it.
Thank you
All right.
very much.
That's all we have.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
I think you called it Cooper's policy.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, you get the second place person.
So we decided to showcase a little bit of just what's going on daily in our classrooms with you guys. And so we are bringing Victoria Barker, second grade teacher, and 4 students here. We've got Paisley Hicklin, wave Paisley, Harper Baldwin, Cade Leslie, and Reed Kimmel there. And we're gonna showcase a little bit of our U-Fly, which is our explicit systematic phonics instruction that we have started to implement here at Macquarie. This has come out of some of the teachers that are doing the letters training, the language essentials for teaching reading and spelling. And we just kind of grasped onto this. This is something that we're believers in. As we've started to implement it, we've seen a great impact. So we just kind of want to show you what Miss Barker and her friends are gonna do every day. It's just a sample, so
Okay.
turn it over to you guys.
Real quick, a little bit about this program. So one cool thing about the program is the resources that go along with this teaching manual are all online and free. They have decodables that we will use daily, homework assistance for parents. The slides that I'm showing you are all included in the program. Anybody can go online right now and access those, which is awesome. So, okay, I'm gonna try to be fast, and we're gonna break, so a lesson, thank you.
That's the right there.
The right one, okay. So a lesson is going to be, when we're working on a skill, it's gonna take 2 days to get through the skill. So day 1, we would focus on phonemic awareness. I'm gonna show you a snippet of some of these tonight. The visual drill I will show you, and the auditory drill. Blending and then new concepts, so that's day 1. Day 2 would be review of new concept, word work, irregular words, and connected text. So how this is functioning is on a 5-day rotation. So we do 1 skill for 2 days, another skill for 2 days. Day 5, we progress monitor. What I do with my progress monitoring is it's very similar to what you would consider is a spelling test, but I use it to guide my instruction for the next week of making small groups for skill-based lessons. So, this is a visual schedule that's presented in the slides, so the kiddos know what we're gonna do for the day. So I'm gonna show you really quickly a little bit of phonemic awareness. Okay, you guys ready? Okay, stand up. Ready? We're doing this. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say the sounds and you're going to blend the word. You ready? Sh.
Fish.
Sh.
Rush.
Sh.
Ship.
Sh.
Shut.
Good job. So that is a blending. We are decoding and encoding when we do these skills. So the next skill we're going to do is I'm going to say the word, you're going to repeat it, and then you get to chop it apart. You ready? Shine.
Shine.
Sh.
Shine.
Good job. Shock.
Shock.
Sh.
Shock.
Good job. Dash.
Dash.
Dash. Great job. So that is a little glimpse of our phonemic awareness. The pace of this program is very quick on a daily basis. The research behind that says that we have these skills embedded into the lessons, continuing throughout the entire year. So it is very systematic, and the timing of everything is super important when you start these lessons. Okay, oh, I forgot the most important part. When we are done in our classroom, we say, cha-ching. All right, so now we're gonna go on to our visual drill. The visual drill is where they're going to say the letters they see and then tell me the sounds that it makes. You guys ready? You have to be loud. Okay. CK says.
F says. F says. L says. L says. S says. Z says. Z says. S says.
And. Great job.
U says or U.
Yes, and so we've learned long and short vowels at this time, so they're throwing all of them in there.
E says or E. I says or I. O says or O. A says or A.
Great job. All right, and then when we're done with that, we say cha-ching. We do have a dance at the end of this, but we won't we won't share all of our secrets for our classroom. All right, this is the auditory drill. In this lesson, this is a 30-minute lesson every day, and as you can see, we are moving a lot. We are using different manipulatives a lot in one lesson, so it is extremely interactive. There you go. Got it? You need a eraser? You need a marker? There you go, babe. Okay. Okay, so for the auditory drill, so as you can see, they're going to write the letters of the sounds that I am presenting to them, okay? So, draw 2 lines on your board because this letter can make this has 3 different letters that makes this sound. So, all right, here we go. What says, we would be doing this whole group, we would either do it at our desk, we would do it on the carpet. We kind of switch it up just to keep it engaging for them. Hold your boards up when you have it. And then I would model on the board with mine as well. It is C, K, and CK. Nice job, erase your board. Yes, you got that right there. Okay, the next one. I just want, what says What says Hold your boards up. Awesome. Okay, what says, I'm gonna go through these fast because I know you guys are awesome at this. What says Yep. Good job. All right. What says Very nice job. Erase your board. Put your words in the marker, and then put everything in here. Obviously, I'm just condensing the lessons for you, but we would go through the. This is what this part of the lesson looks like. The next part, I'm gonna skip the blending. That is a board that I manipulate in the classroom. I put letters up and they blend the words. And then the new concept is where we spend most of our time on day 1, introducing all of the articulatory gestures, what our mouth does, what our tongue does. All of these things are important. We take a mirror, we look at our mouth, we learn all the rules that go along with whatever skill we are learning. So I'm gonna skip through all of this. So I'm gonna show you day 2 real quick. Day 2, this is our visual schedule. We have 4 jobs on day 2. Job 1 is to review the concept. Job 2 is the word work. So, were you guys sent an email with the word work link?
Yeah.
By you? Would you like to pull that up and participate with us? So this is the kiddos' favorite part. In 2nd grade, we have computers, and it has the map pulled up. And yep, you can look at it. So in the lower level grades, it could look like magnetic letters. They could use whiteboards. There's lots of different options for this piece of the component. So here we go. I want you to, another important part. I'm going to be doing encoding and decoding. So at certain points, they're going to have to decode the word, and then they're going to have to, so they're reading and spelling both ways on this. Okay, type out the word shin. Now, on this concept, the SH is together because it's a diagram, and we know that 2 new sounds put together make 1 sound, so they're in a box together. So we go through the whole process of why they're in a box together. So I'll show you how he manipulated his board to make shin. So you're looking under the diagraphs. You don't want an individual S and you don't want an individual H.
We were clicking on it because it's work, it's drag and drop.
Oh, okay.
So we're
Yeah.
good.
So shin. So now what we're going to do is I want you to change the N to a P. Give me a thumbs up when you've built a new word. What is it? You guys agree? Yep. Okay. Now I want you to change the word ship to shop.
These kids are faster.
This system is very explicit and it takes time to get them in that routine for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you change on it?
They don't have them.
Did you change the vowel? The I to the and it says off. Good. So we're encoding and decoding all in the same lesson. So we'll do one more real quick if we have time. So we just built the word shop. So let's change the P to a T. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. What is the new word, Harper? Shop. You guys agree? What did you do to change that? What'd you do? Yeah, you didn't go for it. So this would be huge component of day 2. The rest of day 2 is irregular words, also known as heart words or something that you might hear as sight words. The biggest difference is most sight words are decodable. So we teach them every part of the word that we can actually decode, and then we really emphasize the part that is going to be a heart part we have to remember. So we'll go through those words. The last part is a decodable, and I want to show you how we use it in our classroom. So they have a book that I put together. So at the end of day 2, they have a passage that they can read. So that's step 1, they're going to read it. They're going to take a highlighter and highlight all the words that follow the rule we've just been working on. So if we're working on SH, they're going to highlight the SHs in this decodable. And the last part, they're going to actually illustrate it, which is a comprehension piece that we kind of tie it all together. So that's kind of what UFly looks like, very condensed version. Again, it's usually a 30-minute lesson each day. Any questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So tell me, you said like words that make my ears perk
Okay,
up.
yes.
You said this helps you drive your instruction the following week.
Yes.
Hard to name about that.
Okay. So normally we would have a spelling test. You take your words home and memorize them, study them. The way we do this is we are teaching explicitly what the rules are and how to decode a word. So the thought process is, if we put a word in front of them, they should be able to decode it because I've taught them the skills. So on the assessment, there's about 6 words for the skill, 6 words for the irregular, and then we write sentences. So I grouped them. Who did not get the skill I taught? They're going to be in a skill-based group over here. It doesn't mean they can't read. They might be able to read just fine, but they didn't get the skill.
Right.
So then, the irregular words, who needs help with those words? I'm going to group them over here. So every week, it does not matter where you read, my groups are changing based on the skill.
That's good stuff. That's awesome.
Very
So it's not
engaging.
just fluency, it's phonemic awareness, it's
All of it.
blending.
It's the whole thing put together.
For you.
And we want to focus on, if they don't have the phonemic awareness,
Right.
then we don't really need to focus on anything else until we can accomplish that,
Sure.
because that's what we know readers start with, and then we progress on.
Because fluency does not necessarily mean comprehension.
Right. And then this piece, this is more of an individual piece, but I can take a glance at this and know if they comprehended what they read based on their picture. Are they getting the components out of that picture?
Ms. Parker, very engaging. It's nice to see.
Yeah.
The kids are very engaged.
Awesome.
You guys did a great job.
Good
Great
job.
job.
Thank you.
Big feet on your end.
It's your big time to do it.
Now, where's the date?
Brad,
Yeah.
just about
Oh,
Yeah.
well, you come visit our classroom.
Wait, where are we going?
Okay, next up, we have Making a Difference. We're here to recognize a couple of special people.
Yeah, so last month, because we had to move the board meeting due to the weather, and we didn't get an opportunity to recognize Miss Julie Burks, who was selected January Making a Difference Award winner. A couple things that were stated. Works hard to make sure all the students' needs are met. She's amazing at her job and always has a smile on her face. She's always willing to help, never catch her in a bad mood, and she's just a great person to be around. Those were just some of the things that were said by her peers. Julie, we appreciate everything that you do for us, and sorry it's a month late, but weather didn't allow for it before.
You're getting nice surveys.
There you go. Thank you for everything you do.
Yeah, thank you.
The second one, so for February, we want to recognize middle school teacher, Ms. Tammy Grubb. Couple things that were said about her: she is usually the first one to arrive and the last one to leave every day. Works with students beyond the school day with tutoring and with sports all year long. She excels at building relationships with peers and students and always has a positive attitude. And thank you very much for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They were both recognized at the building level as well and in a faculty meeting, so they've been recognized by their peers. And I just want to again thank both of you for everything that you do for us every day.
Okay, next up is our superintendent's report.
Yeah, I got a couple things. The building level administrative reports are included in your packet for review. Want to point out that we've got the all-staff breakfast on February 26th. It's a professional development day. Staff will be served breakfast that day from 7:30 to 8:30. Also, the foundation will be presenting the foundation grants at 8:15. So they met and selected those, so we'll have staff there and be able to present those in front of all the staff instead of just the buildings. A few things legislation-wise I wanted to update the board on. There hasn't been much movement this week on open enrollment since the House passed it. Just kind of stalled out. Currently, Senate Bill 799 is being discussed in the Senate. Legislation could have a significant impact on local funding. As it currently reads, the legislation would decrease vehicle assessed valuation to 0.1% if they're 12 years or older. So that could definitely significantly impact the local funding mechanism for all districts.
How long does it take a vehicle to depreciate right now, the way it is?
They don't. They hold value until they're no longer tagged.
Okay.
Then the other thing I wanted to point out, the increase in state minimum teacher salary continues to be discussed by legislators. The current proposed bills would increase the minimum salary to $38,000 for a first-year teacher, $44,000 for a teacher with 10 years of experience, and $44,000 would also be a minimum salary for a teacher with a master's degree. Currently, as part of the proposal, there is partial funding for schools that are not currently paying at those levels. So we'll just kind of see what happens.
I know it doesn't make a difference, but that open enrollment, if I read that right, they were going to put something like $80 million in that. It seems to me like we ought to fix what we've got going on now before we add something to this. If they want to put $80 million into something, put it in teacher salaries.
I think it's laughable they think 80 million is gonna cover it.
I know, but I'm just saying, I just thought that was ironic.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Brian.
I think we all agree that we need to fix it, but
I appreciate Thompson for
yeah,
putting
100%.
So I have a question on how that was written. I know that they put in the 3% this year and what they presented. Was that the receiving school only had to take in 3% of their student population?
The outgoing school could only lose 3%.
Okay,
And how do you deem it's basically in the order that they file?
right.
That's not been determined yet. That's, right now, as far as I know, there's not a determination on how you determine, in our case, 60 kids. If 60 kids wanted to leave, and we had 80 that tried, I don't know. They've not said you have to allow these kids, or you can't allow these kids, or whatever.
And the last I saw it was optional still, right?
Correct.
Whether you want to participate or not. So
Whether you
can-
want to participate or not.
So a board,
Yeah.
school board can say, hey, we're gonna elect to stay away from it.
Right.
So
It wouldn't preclude you from losing students.
Yeah.
But you would not, if you chose not to, you wouldn't have to accept students, as it's written now.
And you could take on as many students as you wanted, hypothetically?
Hypothetically. could lead to some staffing issues and things like that.
Space issues.
Space.
It's just interesting, I've had some people, you know, our district line, especially north of I-70, is very close to Wellington.
Yes.
And so I've had some people asking about open enrollment because they live in the Wellington School District but want their kids to come here. I just thought it was kind of a unique perspective and something I hadn't thought of before. I mean, the border is, what, 2 miles north of I-70? It goes a lot deeper on the south side, but.
Well, on 131, it goes further north when you go back to the east. But yeah, if you're
Yeah.
following along 131, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just an interesting perspective in regards to how close Wellington School District is to us.
I'm assuming, you know, any numbers that you take into, if you decide that you do wanna participate are gonna come into play with, as far as, you know, your base, your student base, is like what class you're in. So if you accept, if we're close, you know, say 5 students away and we accept 10, then obviously that could change things.
Right. A lot of dynamics can come into play.
What about like special needs, like students that are special needs, is that funding that would be provided by the state, or is that?
Well, as it's written at this point, you would not have to, if you don't have the program to support that need, you would not have to accept that child. If you do, and you're participating, then you have to accommodate for that child. And then it all goes back into the $80 million that's available. At this point.
Not curious. It's like a fraction.
Transportation and all kinds of things. I'm sorry.
No, the other question I had was if the application is year to year, or if once you're in, you're locked into being in that new district?
You can go back to your district at any time, your home district, I think.
You can, but there's some, and I don't know what the specific language is, but I don't believe you could go to a district and then the next year go to a different district. I think you have to stay there or go back to your home district.
There is, and I don't remember what
I don't
it
remember
says
exactly what it
specifically.
says. I think you could go back to your home district and then the third year go to a different district. And I don't think you could, in the course of 4 years, I don't think you could go to 4 different districts.
Just didn't know if it was like a roulette type of thing where we let 40 students in next year, if those 40 students get to stay with us in 2 years, or if it goes back into the roulette.
Well, I think once they're
accept
there,
it.
they stay for as long as they want.
Okay.
Right.
Once they're
Okay.
accepted, they're accepted
That's
Once they would make that choice, they could stay then
Okay,
as long as they want.
through the rest, you know, through their, into their school.
I see.
There's a lot of wording too about like with sports and stuff, you have to wait 365 days from the day that you transfer in before you participate in extracurriculars.
Just to put some numbers behind some of this, $80 million divided by an average of what a student costs a school district is, it's about $10,000. If I had a kiddo who went somewhere and I wanted him to come here, my tuition would be about $10,000. So you divide that 80 million by 10,000 and it's 8,000 kids. Okay? Divided by 114, because that's how many counties are here. That means 70 kids in this county, just using the law of averages, would be funded by that 80 million. That's less than 1% of our kids. 80 million is laughable. And what typically happens is when they run short, they prorate the formula.
Yes.
So when it falls short, they're gonna say, okay, well, we're only gonna fund you at 92% of your formula this year. So they have no accountability financially.
Or possibly reduce transportation funding.
Right.
That's been
Yep.
common. Any other questions on the legislation piece? The only other thing I had, I wanted to point out that past 2 weeks, Armored One has been on site, and they have installed the bullet-resistant window film at the entrances that were not part of the recent bond issue. So we did with the grant funding. So that's been, the identified areas have been completed, and so that's why the windows look a little different.
Was the $29,000 left in that fund? Is that for some tile that we're?
Yeah, we've got some remaining tile work from the bond issue.
report, so we have 29 grand.
Yeah, so.
So that's the only item left.
The only outstanding on the bond project is the Bulldog tile at the middle school. Unless there are warranty things that come up within the first year, yes.
When are they going to redo that, have they said?
We're actually, it's a different provider, it's actually our vendor, it's the same one that they're bringing on, the same one that did the O out here at the high school. So Roger's been kind of working with them, if we can get that, they are skilled enough and quick enough that they could probably get it pulled off over the spring break time. But if they are booked or something, then it would be next summer.
We'll have all those details worked out when they get all the little pieces of tile in their hands. That's what they're waiting
Yeah.
on, when they're ready to set a date.
Okay. All right. That's all we have?
That's it on my superintendent report.
Okay, next up we have 16A, which would be our board observation. Kelsey, if you would like to speak toward that.
So I had proposed, to do a tour of the 4 schools in our district and potentially observe staff and students. Based on the staff surveys, they don't feel supported by the Board of Education, and I feel that visibility in the schools could increase those results. And I personally had, 2 staff members reach out to me before I was elected to this position, saying they wished there was more board presence in the schools. One even said they wished we could substitute teach so we could see the culture of the building. So that is kind of the rationale behind my request. John pulled up the policy in our manual as well in regards to that, so just wanted to have a discussion about it.
I gotta think about this for a second. I think you're right. I think it's important that, you know, that as a group that we are seen in the buildings, in my opinion. I think there's times that it would be nice to, I also think that it's a double-edged sword. I don't think we need to infringe. I mean, we need to remember that we're board members. We set policies. I can tell you right now, I could build anything you all want to build, but I don't know that I can sit in a classroom and tell you what kind of job our teachers or our kids are learning. But I don't see a problem with us seeing some of that. That's what I mean. I don't. I'm trying to think how I would say this, in my opinion.
So it's culture, it's classroom culture, so you would like to sit and observe the culture in a classroom under instruction?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't take issue with the board presence, I don't take issue with the feedback from the survey. But sitting in a classroom in an observation setting without any kind of a scoring rubric or an opportunity to exchange feedback, that scares me a little bit.
Personally, I like the idea of the board being more visible. I think that's,
I do too.
I can 100% get behind that. I think for myself, whenever I joined school board, I would like to think that I was like ready, but really until you go through the training, I was ignorant to a lot of it. And I think that community members sometimes don't understand really what the role is as a school board member. I can honestly say that I was like 100% wrong about what I thought my role was gonna be. Community members really need to understand that no individual board member has any power at all to do anything or say anything. We really only have power together as one. And we're not really trained in, like you talked about, maybe scoring a teacher or determine like, are they good or they're bad? Like, I don't know that, you know what I mean? So we leave that up to the administration. So I agree that sometimes that could maybe be a slippery slope. We don't wanna be that. We don't wanna be in a situation where, you know, a parent or a teacher thinks like, oh, I'll just go talk to a school board member. Really doesn't work that way. Like, you gotta talk to your boss and their boss, and then, yeah, maybe you can come and talk to all the school board members if you want to in a meeting, you know, that makes sense. But I do 100% agree that I think that we should try to be more involved as a group, you know, and say, you know, hey, here we are, you know, we wanna be both feet in, just like we want our administrators to, and just like we want our teachers to, and just like we want our students to, you know, everyone has to buy in to the district to, you know, make it successful. And, you know, I don't know what it was like in the past, cause I wasn't super involved, and maybe they did a good job of that, maybe they didn't, I don't know, you know, in the past. But maybe it's just something too that we never really, you know, previous board members never really thought about, like, hey, what can we do to be present?
You know, in 22 years that I've taught, I've never had, I've had board members come and take tours of the school. I've had them interact with the kids. I've had them sponsor a lunch or a special event for our building. But as far as like observing me teach, that hasn't been a role that I've ever seen done by a board member. I think for me, what I count on my board members to do are listen to my administrators when they say they need something, or listen to the community when they, you know, feel like they're, you know, spark those conversations, and not, I don't know, I think it's a great idea. I think as far as us being present and being supportive, but I don't feel comfortable sitting in a classroom observing the teacher teach their students, because that's, even as a teacher, that's not a role that I signed on to the school board for. I signed on to be a voice, but I think there is a boundary there that we have to honor.
I think if this is going to work, I agree with what you're saying, Kels. We need to be said. But I think we need to take everybody's gotta be involved with this, with our administrators and the schools and us. If we're gonna set dates, and I think that's what needs to happen, if we're gonna set dates or times for us to come in and see what's going on, which I think is a great idea. We wanna see the good things going on in our schools. It's the way we approach this, in my opinion. But we need to work with everybody involved and make sure that we're all working together.
It's not awkward or like,
Yes,
oh, school board
yes.
members are coming.
The last thing we wanna do, in my opinion, is put extra pressure on our teachers, as much as they have going on right now, and administrators. We're there to support you. We're not looking for anything. We're just there to support you. That's how we gotta go at this, in my opinion.
I agree, and and Jess, maybe you could expand on how board members have engaged. You said they've engaged with students before. I'm not an expert in this. I struggle not knowing like the staff members. You know, I walk into say upper, and I don't know any of the front office staff or the librarian, and it's hard for me to approve personnel, and I don't really know any of them, and so that is kind of a part of it.
I guess what
as
I'd
well.
have to say that though is that's why we have our, our evaluations, our administrator evaluations. We hire them, trust them to hire the right teachers so that we don't have to be there to do that. That's not our job. And so, when an administrator comes in and says, hey, these teachers have done a great job, we have to trust that they're doing what they're, what they're saying, they're preaching what they're saying, and they're giving us the right information.
I agree with that.
I don't know,
I wanna build relationships, be approachable.
I think,
And I think the wording of observing versus
I'd say investing, like you're investing the relationship side of being a board member and a faculty member. And I don't know, like, I think kind of like the breakfast, the all-staff breakfast, you know, those type of situations, I think creating those type of opportunities for the board to be able to meet and greet those teachers is a better way to get to that point. I don't know, I kind of agree with, you know, you guys as far as like, it's a slippery slope when we start stepping into the classroom. Now who do we go to? Who do we talk to? If I have a problem, do I still go to my administrator, or do I go to the board member? Do I go to the superintendent? Like, it creates just a big confusing mess that I think is just gonna backfire on us. And so,
I think the approach, I mean, if you put the word observe into
yeah, the teachers
what you're
freak
doing,
out.
I can
Right.
tell you with 100% that that is not a word that any teacher or administrator needs to hear from the school board.
No, that's fine, and
Yeah.
I'm sorry for
But
the
no,
vocabulary.
I'm just saying, it just,
That means need. Observation means need.
Yeah.
And need means data, and data means we're having a conference with my principal to get feedback. And whether you're phenomenal or not, it raises your level.
I
So,
understand that.
not the word, outside of the word observe, I think your concept is tremendous, and the all-staff breakfast is step one, and let's figure out how to ramp that, because I'm kind of like you. I know Julie, because Julie's the one that calls me, you know, when one of my kids is sick.
Right.
Outside of that, I don't know, they don't look like my daughters anymore, you know?
Yeah.
I know. I'm with you.
Well, maybe we can work together here and try to set up dates throughout the calendar year for the board members that can make a half a day or a day going through all the buildings.
Somebody over here said tours, and I think that's probably.
Yes.
good.
Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
you could even preface these whenever you send these out.
Yes,
This is strictly like, board members wanna be, like what do you need? Like, we wanna be present and build
Yeah.
relationships, and all the things that she talked about.
right.
That way it's not, and this like, this is a no pressure deal, like, this is
Right.
really just like a, hey, how are you? I'm Kelsey, you know, this is, you know, whatever.
Yes, sir.
Well, the district used to do staff like Christmas cards, and they would hand out, you know, they, remember?
Yeah.
You know, we used to go out with the superintendent and hand out the Christmas cards during Christmas.
Oh, that's.
You know, those type of things, I think, is what we need to be aiming towards, you know. And like I said, throughout the year, I mean, those opportunities are gonna arise. There's the back to school, assembly where we can be there for breakfast and be there for opening day, you know, and then, like I said, Christmas and, you know, the breakfast thing. And, I mean, if we can create 4 or 5 opportunities throughout the year to do that, then I'm on board with that, so.
And I'll take it a step further and say, I don't wanna be in a position where I stand in front of them and they have to clap for me. I wanna put bacon on their plate.
Bacon on it.
Right?
I
Fair
just
enough.
wanna see them doing what they're good at, you know, and for me, it's just hard, you know, seeing, like, serving 100 staff members bacon, be like, okay, first off, what school are you at?
Mm-hmm.
Second off, what grade do you teach?
Yeah.
There's 8 fourth grade teachers, so I mean, there's a lot of staff members that I don't know, and Chad, I agree with you that our administrators do the evaluations, but, like I said, I just wanna build relationships and, be there to support them, so.
I'd say, yeah, work on that, see if you can bring something back to us about some dates and times to get
I'll
together.
actually touch on that here in just a
Okay.
minute, too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next up, we have first and second year staff reports.
Yeah, so as I previously mentioned, Dr. Fagan and I met with all first and second year staff members over the past few months. Gathered a lot of great information to help us move forward and better support our staff. Through the interview and survey collection, we identified ways that we could better support staff when they're first hired by the district. An example of that is, creating more opportunities to activities to meet them when they're brand new. We've done a good job in the last few years of having a new staff meeting in June. But then anybody hired from June through August, sometimes they get lost in the shuffle. So we're gonna do, and this is another opportunity, honestly, for the board to be a part of. We're gonna do sometime late July this year, we're gonna do like a barbecue for all new staff members. And, you know, the administrators and, will be invited, kind of a come and go, and all the new staff members that have been hired for the school year next year will be invited to come to that. So, and obviously the board, but, you know, some of that type of thing, it was good feedback to get to how can we better support and invest those employees in our district and, you know, not have as much turnover, especially with our young teachers. Most staff members, when they get vested in a district, they don't leave unless it's just a, you know, for a betterment opportunity that, you know, we've lost staff members that live in another community and they get to teach down the block from where they live. That's hard to argue with. But, you know, if we're gonna get a bunch of new staff members, I wanna better support them and get them to stay here long term. So, just wanted to provide that information to the board. Nothing needs to be done, but we're gonna continue to find ways that we can support them and gather this information. This is something that we won't do every year, but we'll come back again in 2 years and do this or something similar to kind of see, you know, how are we doing? What are the things that we need to continue to evolve and change to better support our teachers and our staff members? So, any questions on that?
Okay.
Okay.
Next up, we have our annual performance report.
Michael McLean.
Alright, good evening. So, our annual performance report, we'll refer to it as APR. This is our grade card and how we measure up against Missouri standards for MSIP 6. So a couple key things before you kind of refer to your packet. Overall, we saw improvement from 22 to 23. It's important that with your APR data that we understand we should only really compare this data to 2022 because any data prior to that would be under a different MSIP cycle. We plan to continue with intervention strategies to identify and fill learning gaps. Across the state, chronic absenteeism remains a concern. The Odessa Continuous Improvement Plan, the CSIP, reflects that our stakeholders recognize the importance that planning plays in improving instruction and student performance. A couple little points in relationship to our data. It's our hope that we can use the data that you have in your packet, along with local assessments and other key data points to inform our building leaders, teachers, and staff, and to use this unique period of time in education to reimagine how we can best serve student learning overall, while continuing to focus on basics such as reading and math. The district will also use this data to update our procedures and processes for accurate reporting of data to DESE through our student information system, which is now Infinite Campus, and the DESE platform for core data collection. Various points can be achieved in our next APR by investigating the holes from our 2023 APR as they relate to attendance reporting and EOC and MAP preparation percentages. So the district and building packets are available for your review.
The performance at the high school is lower in 23. Can you speak to that?
Yes, now that is a little bit of a caveat that comes from the COVID years. So when COVID happened and those assessments were kind of forgiven, when students were in the 8th grade and 9th grade level, and then we go through a couple of years of not testing, then we start testing again. With MSIP, we're supposed to capture kids at the high school level 1. And what happened was kids never got assessed and they were gone and graduated. And that kind of gouged us. It fell below a percentage point. And so it wasn't just us, that was kind of a thing across the state where we missed kids getting assessed. And if you don't assess a certain percentage of those kids, you're not eligible for those points.
And that's what happened in the 23. Okay.
You have to get a 95%
Assessment.
assessment, right?
And our goal, as we talk to our building, is to get 100%. So if kids just don't come to school, our admin are really good at giving them a lot of phone calls and saying, we need to have you here for this accountability piece. So our goal is 100%. That was just an unfortunate situation still coming from the pandemic where those kids were never captured. Good question, good observation.
Dave, why are we leaning on our 7-year grad rate? We're getting 20 out of 20 on graduation, but it says this, that data is coming from the 7-year cohort. What worries me is this, I mean, 7th year is the last year. There is no 8th year, so like
adjusting that to,
I mean, getting it down to where your 4-year cohort is getting you the 20 out of 20.
my plan was and still is for the district disposition to review that data in August, make sure we're getting with the building counselor at the high school level to make sure that that data reflects accurately what we want when it's released to us in August, like August 1, the state. So that's kind of already set in motion to build with the counseling staff a time right away when they come back from their break to look at that data and make sure that we're doing the right piece there. So we'll look into that further to ask more questions.
Yeah. Typically, there's a single data cell that's not populated. Freshman first year. If it's not populated, then the exit code G never matters. Okay.
With Infinite Campus, it's all new, so it's
Yeah.
a good time for us to review our practices anyway.
Any other questions for Mr. McClellan at this point?
I just had one more question,
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
sorry,
Go
on the McQuarrie, the continuous improvement was lowered this year as
And
well.
that's tied to attendance. And
That's
so
attendance,
a little
okay.
bit of our processes and procedures, kind of investigating where our reporting is. I think that's something we can control.
Okay.
But it's kind of our systems of operation and how we upload that to DESI and how it's getting reported. So we believe that's where the score should go up next year.
Like a clerical error, is that what you're alluding to?
Possibly, we're still investigating to find out.
At that K2 level, there's no math assessment.
Right,
So the only contribution they give to APR is you get your attendance points or not. So
We're gonna make sure that we get the accurate representation of what our students attended.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you.
I'm next.
Okay. R-VII.
Okay, excited to show you guys some update. I think we spoke in September about our new screening information system that also kind of segues data from our students into a learning path to help identify learning gap holes in math and literacy. And so now we screen them a second time. We had a little bit of a snafu this year with the actual screening because it was in the middle of our snowpocalypse. But the teachers did a wonderful job of capturing this data. So to share with you, what I want to remind you about on these bar graphs is we can compare the data I shared with you in September to the data we just captured here in January. What you should see is the green, the dark green represents students that are at midway through the grade level or above. So if my child is a 6th grade student, the data is showing they're midway through that 6th grade level or they're above. The green would represent early for their grade level. This is on track. This is what we would want for them. Yellow represents students that are 1 grade level below. They're still entitled to another semester of learning from us. So that's natural for us to see some students that aren't quite to grade level yet. We still have a semester of education. The red are the concerning kids for interventions that represent 2 grade levels below. The dark red are 3. So if you compare your data here between, we have math and we have district, math and reading district-wide. The fall is the second line, and now you see the green is starting to move its way across the screen. And I will come back and visit with you guys again in June when we give our final assessment to see how many kids we've moved into that percentage. What the system allows us to do though is the students in the yellow, that are grade level behind, they can really dive down into the fundamentals that they're missing and try to build them up. It even goes as basic as the youth life lesson that we saw from Mrs. Barker. So students that have gaps that maybe didn't have the great teacher that she is, maybe moved into our district, it helps identify those holes and gives our teachers skills to directly help where they're deficient. So that's kind of the exciting piece, is we work with our administrators on how they can work with the teachers to better help the kids fill their buckets. So I wanted to share that data, and if you guys had any questions about it, answer any questions for you at this time. Yes, ma'am.
Go.
You're probably gonna ask the same question I am. What is your opinion about why we see the results that we see in 7th grade math and reading, specifically math? Have you looked at them
You know,
real close?
there's seasons and everything in our lives,
Yeah.
and motivated learners. I mean, we have amazing things going on at Macquarie, at Upper, and at the middle school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
the
wasn't
challenge is-
implying that we're not doing our jobs, I
Yes.
just was curious.
I think we're having to try to figure out how to best reach students and motivate them,
Mhm.
because motivated learners is possibly what we're looking at a little bit. At the same time, there are, I think, identifiable learning gaps, and we gotta also equip our teachers moving forward on how to maybe instruct a 7th grade student who has an identified 1st grade skill set. And sometimes somebody who's been educated to be a middle school teacher, I don't know how to work with phonemic awareness. That's, a 2nd grade level. So that's kind of a challenge for us too, is to equip our teachers moving forward with even better PD, more conversations about going into the data, going into the resources that align with our current teaching resources so that they can intervene better. So it's a little bit of both, but also empowering our middle school teachers to be great motivators and try to get the students to show what they know on that formative assessment. And they are doing some amazing things with incentives. And we're in collaboration with other districts that use the R-VII platform, whether they're giving jelly beans or Jolly Ranchers to try to inspire them to be excited about it. But if they keep talking about the data, the philosophy is where attention goes, energy flows, and we're starting to see that. So there's always gonna be some kids that need a little extra push, but I see the 7th and 8th grade as a big opportunity.
And I mean, obviously, this is why we're doing it, so that way we can see these. So it's we have to get used to the fact that it's not always gonna be pretty. It's not, we're not always gonna look at it and be like, oh, great job, it's gonna be like, uh-oh, and then like you said, we can twist things up a bit.
Well, and I think that in the board report that the administrators provided, it looks like math was specifically talked about as a curriculum they're really working on too.
I think it's really interesting. I'm just looking at OUE. Like, if you look at just the status, the academic achievement status, everything there is on target.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But in the 2 growth standards, in ELA and math, the growth standards, so we're on target, but we're not meeting the growth standard. Maybe I'm asking a rhetorical question, but more understanding about how that growth is measured, because I've seen the statistic.
It's complex.
It is, that's an understatement, yeah. It's just interesting, because we're on track for our status, but OUE's sitting at a 61, that's.
The beauty of this system is that we have something that we can have more timely feedback on, that's gonna model what the MAP and APR growth piece is gonna have at the University of Missouri system that's complex and trying to predict what their stretch growth would be. We've seen kids make massive improvements, but because of where they tested the first time, they could have 200% growth, but still not be moving where we need them to go. So the important thing is the conversation of how to better address the instructional need of the student in the moment. Versus if we didn't have this, we had large red gaps and didn't know it. I look at it too, you go to the doctor and you have those tests and you get to see everywhere you're at. If you weren't going for those checkups, you wouldn't know what your health was like. This gives us a checkup.
Yep.
I have to go back to 8th grade real quick. So for both ELA and math, the etched red, so the 2 grade levels behind or more,
Yes, ma'am.
increased. So for math, it's 29% now, and it was 23% in the fall. Is that testing fatigue? Is that just kids not caring? Cause I thought you had said that they excluded results that, they just said D every single question. Isn't that right?
You can catch kids that are trying to just click their way through it
Yeah.
and then kind of pep talk and have them start again.
Mhm.
So you can do that. But it is possible to see that number increase if at the beginning of the year they were 2 grade levels behind, and if they're not an engaged learner and they're not learning, now that we're putting on more expectations and more content, they're even further behind because they're not keeping up with learning.
Okay.
So then comes in the strategy of how do I assess that type of learner. It's not just I just give the 8th grade content and hope they get it. We have all kinds of learners and we got to help move them forward. So they're falling further behind a few kids.
Do you feel like the teachers are grasping this a little better as far as explaining to the parents when they have those meetings?
That's something I'd have to ask them specifically about because mostly I work with them and teach them how to work with the teachers. But I hope so because if anything, it should be, I would love it as a teacher because then I can steer my conversation onto the content and not just on my subjective opinions of the kids' compliance in the classroom.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that we're giving our teachers the time to understand like you do,
Yes.
what this means so that they can relay that to the parents. And so whatever we need to be doing to make sure that they feel comfortable speaking to that. I think the first I-Ready, that's a little bit of the feedback I got was like some of the teachers didn't feel comfortable or like they were educated enough to really speak to understand it just yet. And so I want to make sure that we're working with teachers to help them convey parents that what you're saying may look bad or it is bad.
We've had about every PD day opportunities for them to meet with their staff. We brought in our PDC consultants, instructional coaches from Warrensburg, especially on the literacy piece. We've used some subs for them to meet with all the teachers to talk about setting up groups for small group instruction from K through 8. They meet every building after every one of these. I-Ready, when we purchased the product, had some built-in PD as well. And then I think we've grown a lot of capital here locally with their instructional coach, Tia, with our title teachers, and the principals themselves. So my hope is that that just grows as we use the program moving forward in the future as
You're
well.
gonna see a lot of advocates,
Yes.
teacher to teacher.
Yeah.
I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
So, you obviously said that you had conversations with other schools that are using this and doing this, and I know that obviously every district is different in terms of makeup. Is this kind of common with other districts that they kind of see more red as the grade levels go up? I mean, obviously.
The ones
I know
I've
that's-
talked to, yes,
Is
I've
it
talked to all of them.
So we're kind of this is like normal. We're not in a situation where
It makes
not
sense.
that we want to be normal,
No.
but I mean,
Yes. It's that the motivated learner in 3rd grade. I mean, really good teacher with a motivated learner, they're gonna grow, especially when we're measuring it. It's you can have a great teacher. We have some amazing teachers at our middle school, and I know them instructing very well. Now we got to further equip them to fill the buckets where the student's at.
and what works for this student isn't going to work for that one. So you gotta,
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a great challenge.
Dave, can I say something?
Yes, sir.
I mean, to that, like, I know like I-Ready will say there's that Goldilocks zone as far as usage, like 30 to 49 minutes per week per subject. And anything over that or under that, you're not gonna see some of those, it's not gonna be as effective. And then I think that goal setting piece with kids, I-Ready talks a lot about goal setting and making them have ownership of their stuff. Even at the kindergarten level is important, and I think we've started to do some of that more as we've gotten into it, but I think once you get to a certain level, of student, and this is, I think, the thing that I think about, the kid that has done I-Ready for however many years, when we get into it, are they gonna have the same enthusiasm and buy-in as a 3rd grade student as they had as a kindergartner, And you don't want it to get fatigued, for sure, but there is research that they have that says there's some usage and things that are kind of what they say is the Goldilocks area for it, so. we try to encourage that with the staff and the kids, and I think all the buildings do that with their teachers, so.
Once you get to 7th and 8th grade, I mean, is there something to be said about like, I could just say this because my son was kind of this way. Once they get to that age, they start getting into high school, they start figuring out pretty quick whether, you know, college is a path for them or a trade is a path for them. And once I think some kids figure out I'm gonna go this route instead of college, it's almost like they check out. It's almost like, I mean, what good is this anymore? And so I just wonder how much that plays into 8th grade, freshman, you know, just once you get to that age group, like, I mean, not that they can't be motivated, not that they need to quit trying, but I think as a district, you know, and something we've done over the last 3 to 4 years is offering, you know, building programs, things, you know, ag, you know, different things that those kids can lock into that may, you know, they may be more focused on that, and you know, they may see a career in this, and so, you know, not letting those kids fall through the cracks just because of test scores or, you know, because this is, you know, what they're told they need to do. You know, just I think it's important that we also show them that this is a future that, you know, you may, you know, exceed in, you know, and so anyways, I don't know if that has anything to do with the data, but
I think the data with our I-Ready partners is such that they're trying to make the program even more advanced and different for the middle school ages. So they know that data is consistent. They're trying to reform it to make it more engaging for them.
Yeah.
That's the latest I've heard from them. But at the same time, I like what you said on different career paths, but I also like the responsibility of these are 8th grade level standards.
yeah,
So we want to get
it doesn't give them a
we wanna get
pass.
confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our
I would
responsibility.
hope that if we have students like that are there, that's we haven't done our job. I mean, I would hope that all of them feel like, that I'm still in the game for whatever direction I'm gonna go.
Yeah, and I guess what I mean by that is providing those opportunities for whatever direction they're wanting to go in. I think as a school district, we should be providing those opportunities for, anybody, you know, if they're wanting to go into a building trades, or if they're wanting to go, you know, if they're wanting to go to college or 4-year, you know, university or something like that. I mean, I think being able to be inclusive to meet every student and keep them engaged instead of just dropping out or stop going, you know, just not going to school. You know, trying to get those kids to come and stay engaged.
Dave, this I-Ready, I'll tell you this, it's exciting. I think that our staff, for the most part now, are starting to see the good in this. Like anything new that you throw on to somebody, at first they're already loaded. They don't have an extra second in the day, and we throw this stuff at them. But I think once we get to rolling on this, we'll really start seeing the benefits. And I know our numbers right now don't look the best, but I really believe, and I wanna believe, that after this has been in there and our kids have been in I-Ready, that we'll really see the improvements. And so, I think it's great. Yeah, thank you.
That was a lot more in depth than
That's
you
right.
planned, wouldn't it?
Thank you.
You got a chair?
Okay, next, Stuff the Bus Supply Drive.
Yeah, again, this year we're planning to hold the Stuff the Bus initiative. We were able to put a lot of supplies in the students' hands as a result of the drive from last year. Additionally, in addition to the supplies that were donated, we received several financial donations that have continued to provide supplies for the students and programs all year long. So definitely worth the time. The initiative was well received, and do it again and help out as many kids as we can. So just making you aware that we park the bus on the front lawn again this summer.
Can we put this in the paper or anything?
Yeah, we do. Tammy does a pretty good job of advertising.
How does the monetary donations work? I mean, do people just drop by the school and send those and say,
Well, and we use it to, so part of the vendor fare is a $50 fee that goes into that account. We put a banner on front of the bus, so anyone who donates a certain amount gets their logo on that banner. So just to acknowledge who's, who our main supporters are.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next up, we have action items for 2023-24 school year calendar.
Yeah, so I'm gonna walk you through, kind of how this looks on makeup days. We'll do it on the screen over there. Dr. Fagan will kind of run. We've got a interactive hours calendar that we've developed that kind of tracks, so we know that we have the number of hours that we need by the end of the school year. If you'll remember the information I provided you, we have to build a calendar with 1,044 hours. We also do have to have weather hours built into that calendar, which we do, and I'll show you that in a second. The first 36 hours that are missed have to be made up hour for hour. The next 48 hours have to be made up 1 hour for every 2 hours missed. So if you look in the bottom left-hand corner, the white cell, F39 it looks like, or F38, 171, just over 171 hours is what our calendar had to start the year. So we were already in excess of the 144, or 1,044. So that allowed us 27-ish hours to miss before we ever had to consider or look at makeup time. So before we get started and all that, because we're out tomorrow, it's not an inclement weather day, those hours have to be made up hour for hour. They cannot be included as part of this. So Dr. Fagan, if you will put a 0 on tomorrow, and then the proposal, if approved, will be on April 2nd that we go to school on that day. So he put 6.75 in that because that's the standard day length in 3 of our buildings. The other building, the middle school, is 6.7833. The difference being the difference in the lunch time and the passing period that has to be counted. So that's why there's a little variation, but we just go off that number because we know that's the lowest. The other 3 buildings are all at 6.75. So when you change those 2 numbers out, the number in the bottom left corner stays the same at 1,071 and some change. So now we had 9 weather days. So if you will put those in, Dr. Fagan. He's changing all those to 0. They turn red automatically just so we can easily see those when we look at the screen to see where we're at.
You got these memorized? You got them wrote down.
You got
Cheat.
I had to write them down.
I'm like, wow,
There's so many.
that's something.
So now if you'll go down to the bottom left corner, you'll see the running total of hours is 1,000 and what? 1,011 is where we're at. So we've got some hours we need to make up. What you can't see because of the size of the screen, before that first box that was blacked out was not blacked out because that represented we had enough hours in our calendar. So right now when we look at this, the second block is where we're at. He's gonna mess with this and be able to show you.
Maybe.
So change out a couple of those zeros back to 6.75. Go back a little bit further, Raj. Take that one down. Okay, so you see the green bar, even though, scroll up just a little bit, Dr. Fagan. So you'll see those first few days that we missed, those first 4 days, we still had enough hours in our calendar. Okay, we were still operating in that first box, we were still above 1,044, we're still good to go. So then, as he adds in days, now we don't have enough hours in our calendar, we're gonna have to start making up time at this point. So go ahead and put the rest of them in, they'll see it flip over. So we're in that window where we've gotta make up some time. So looking at makeup days, what I'm proposing is that we go in on May 6th and we make up that day. That was a scheduled day off. That'll be a good instruction day because it's right before we get ready to start testing. Still don't have enough hours. Can you scroll down just a little bit so they can see that center box bar? There you go. May 22nd, we're gonna make that a full day instead of a half day. That gets us 2.75 hours. March 11th was a day off, so we're gonna go back to, hold on. You're only gonna need 4 hours on that day, I think.
That's 22nd.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the 21st, we made a full day. 22nd is a full day. March 11th was a scheduled day off. So we're gonna put 6.75 in there. Now we've got enough hours.
Without having to do May 23rd and 24th.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, that's at this point. Any more weather, in fact, I think, scroll down a little bit, Dr. Fagan. What is, in that center box, how many hours are we over? It's like point something, I believe, that green number.
2.375.
So,
Okay.
2.375, if we miss another day, we couldn't just make up a half day, we'll have to go a full day.
You can probably handle a late start, not a full day.
We could handle a late start, for sure, but not a full day. We'd have to add on. But, worst case scenario, we're still, by utilizing these days that we're scheduled off during the year, we're still gonna be able to be out on Memorial Day, still be able to get instruction time in before we start testing, and still not interfere with the April 15th PD day, which Dr. McLean already has some presenters coming in to work with some of our staff on specific initiatives. So
those days that you have now turned into in-school days, are those PD days or were those just all student and staff off days?
they were off days. Yeah, we've not had to lose any PD days.
Just to reiterate, that's May 6th, 22nd, May 24, no, sorry, March 11th,
March 11th.
and then April 2nd.
First and second.
Just a second.
I thought we did.
On the revised calendar, you do.
Yeah.
23.
Yeah, so we've got to go on the 23rd. I thought we did. I've got that on my list, 4 hours on
As
the
a half day.
23rd.
So do those 4 days, that also includes tomorrow?
So we switched out the April 2nd for tomorrow.
Okay.
That doesn't have any effect on the weather number of hours.
Okay.
That's just a flip-flop of days.
Right.
And we'll publish this calendar after it's board approved, so everyone will be able to see what it is. But all the days that we've been talking about were scheduled days off for staff and students.
I'm all in favor of getting them in before testing takes place. I mean, you have to do it, but adding them on at the end of the year is just a wash in my opinion.
in our testing calendar, we've kinda got it set up, we've got it pushed as late as we can get it now. It's definitely.
Did we push it back at all due to
Yeah.
snow days?
Well, we had to push back, and then as we started having snow days, we've pushed it back even further.
Okay.
So I think we're even testing on that Monday, the last week. Yeah, we're doing science testing the last week, math testing the end of the week before, and ELA right before that. So
Is your third I-ready benchmark before or after that?
it's before any testing.
Okay.
So it actually will start in April, last Monday, I believe, in April, which is the last day of April. Then it goes through that first week, because they recommend 6 days of testing for that. So we'll do that I-ready diagnostic during that time. And then they've got, I think, 3 days, if I remember, to review that diagnostic. If they've got some things that they can focus on and help those students before testing started, they would have some time to do that.
Okay.
So the recommendation is to approve the calendar as presented, which is the 5th page of your document.
So at this point, if there's no other discussion, I need a motion to approve the revised 23-24 school year calendar.
So,
All in favor? Thank you.
And like I said, we will get that pushed out, post on social media, all the places that we need to get that.
Okay, next up, we have our 2024 summer school program.
Yeah, so, and Mr. Armstrong's kinda hung around in case you had specific questions, but what we're looking at, similar to how it's been in the past, May 29th through the 26th for elementary and high school students. At the middle school for 6th graders, May 29th through June 11th. Offerings for the high school, similar to what has been in the past, obviously depending upon enrollment. We will again have free breakfast and lunch for all students, transportation as we've done it the last 2 years, where they're picking up at spots around the district, so.
And we will, depending on the amount of kids that sign up, we'll set our stops per that, or do we have our stops for our buses just set?
Well, we'll look at it once we know who's coming from where. We'll identify, centralize. I think the last 2 years, they were pretty similar.
Pretty much the same the last 2 years, but they know Mr. Armstrong works with Bus Barn, and if, hey, we got a bunch of kids here, then we'll just move it. It's no big deal at all. Just switch one.
We create another one or something.
Yeah, make another one if we have to, take one away if we need to.
Yeah.
It's very flexible.
make a motion to approve offering summer school May 29th, 2024 through June 26th, 2024 as presented.
Okay, I have a motion, could I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Okay, next up, we have our student transportation bid.
Dr. Fagin.
So starting, about the first part of January, started the bidding process for transportation. Advertisements, reached out individually to companies we knew had some interest. We had 7 interested companies initially. Ultimately had 4 bidders: DS Bus Lines, Echo Ride, First Student, and Lexington Diesel. And the scoring rubric there is attached. After considering all the materials, it's believed that Echo Ride is the best transportation contractor to provide our services for the upcoming year.
So I have a question on that, Roger.
Yes.
The bus barn that's north of I-70.
Yes.
Is currently in operation under First Student. Whenever you turn over a bus company, does the new company just take over that lot, or how does that get turned over?
So that's leased from a local individual
Okay.
By the current company.
Okay.
The hope would always, of the new company would always be that lease expires and they're able to renew that, but that's something I'll work with Echo Ride on and with first student to see if that's an option.
Okay, thank you.
Echo Right has, they do the Concordia School District right now too, right? Among other schools, but.
No, not Concordia. They do Harrisonville currently and Kirksville, are two local, local-ish regional districts that they do, both of which say great things about their service. They're headquartered out of Wisconsin, but do have that regional presence here already. Yeah.
Any other
Make a motion
questions?
to approve Eco Ride
Okay.
transportation.
Okay, I have a motion. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Thank you. Next up, we have our enhancement grant.
Yeah, the enhancement grant request is included in your packet, for review. This has to be submitted to Missouri, Career Tech Ed by the end of February to be considered for funding. The request is seeking approval, to submit the grant. It's not committing us to anything at this point, other than that we're allowing them to submit this grant for, funding consideration. The CTE will then determine the available funding and then then we can determine which items we purchase based on that. It's something that we've done the last 3 or 4 years in a row, and got a lot of equipment. 2 years ago, I believe it was right at 75% funding. This year, it's about 56, is that right, Kat?
Very close,
About
yes.
56% funding, and they determine that funding based on the number of requests. So they've got a pot of money to disperse, and I've not ever heard of them rejecting a eligible item. So they'll basically look at all the items that are submitted and divide that by whatever they've got, and that's how they determine their percentage. So once we know what that is, then we can, and definitely you look at these items, and a lot of them are big ticket items. Those would come back to the board before anything was approved. Obviously, a couple of them one of them, 2 of them would have to come back to the board. Now, one of them has to come back. The other one would come back for the board to review and approve because of the expense.
So this is just approval to allow them to submit the grant.
The CTE will not allow the grant to be submitted without formal approval from the board.
Okay,
I make a motion, we approve the enhancement grant as presented.
Second.
all in favor? Thank you. Next up, we have the agreement for professional services with Wilson Incorporated.
Dr. Fick.
So Olson is a engineering and design firm, working on this through IDS. This proposal would provide topographical surveys, drilling, lab testing, geotech reports, construction documents, things of that nature, in the multi-purpose area. There's totaling fees of $19,200. Pretty thorough proposal from a reputable company in the Kansas City area. So looking for there. If you have any questions, try to answer.
Anybody have any questions on this? Cole, you looked this over, haven't you?
Yep.
They look good.
Yeah, it is.
It's all in line, isn't it?
Comprehensive
Yeah.
and, rates.
So they only have one person get this?
It wasn't put out to bid. They work with a couple different companies,
This
and
one.
the other company, I like this one better already.
Didn't submit anything.
Okay. Any other questions? I need a motion for approval of the agreement for professional services with Olson.
So we
Second.
All in favor? Okay, at this point, I need a motion to conduct a closed executive session, including any record or vote at the next scheduled meeting pursuant to statutes contained in chapter 610.021 RSMO, please. Okay. Okay,
So,
so I need a motion to go into executive session.
so moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Aye.